YouTube. One of my most asked questions is about my makeup routine, so I'm gonna walk you guys through step by step my entire makeup routine today. This is the look we're gonna do. It's actually date night, so I did a little bit of a more glammed version. Honestly, not too different from my everyday though. I'll make sure to like highlight any differences between everyday versus what I did tonight. I'm no pro, but I'm definitely an enthusiast, so I'll share all my tips, why I love the products that I use. So let's get ready. Okay, so first up, skin prep is really important. I have the same like base skincare routine that I always use. This is the Honest Hyaluronic Acid Serum. This gives you like a really nice hydration. This is the Honest Ageless Firm and Even Serum. This goes on like really smooth, and I feel like it helps my makeup like set into my face, into my skin a little bit. This is the Honest Hydrogel Cream. I love this. This is a very, very hydrating moisturizer. Last step is my trusty CeraVe SPF. A primer is important. I use primer every day. This is the e.l.f. Hydro Grip Primer, and it works very well. It gives you that like really nice tacky base for your makeup to just really stick to. Brows are actually the first step that I do. I use the e.l.f. Brow Lift. This is just a little spoolie from e.l.f. I was always very hesitant to get on board with like the laminated brow look, and I definitely don't go up like crazy. I just kind of go, I like them to be stuck down and really stay in place. I like to be glowy for date night, so I have these two like glow bases that I like to use. This is the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion, and this is the e.l.f. Halo Glow. This one's a little darker, this one's a little lighter. I have a tan on, so I'll probably try this one and maybe this one just like on the high points. I completely skip this step if we're doing like everyday makeup. I recently got this foundation brush from Morphe. It's the M104 and I love it. Okay, so we have a nice glowy base. I have a couple of blemishes that I like to conceal before I put my foundation on. It's just a little trick that I learned. You just put your concealer like right on them and kind of let it sit for a moment and get tacky, and then your foundation will like cover better after it goes on. This is the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. They actually sent me this. I really like it for spot concealing. I didn't love it under my eyes because personally I need like a heavier coverage under my eyes, and I would say this is like better for spot concealing just in like the experience that I've had with it so far. So for my everyday concealer, I use the L'Oreal True Match Nude. It's kind of like a serum based foundation and I love it. It goes on beautifully, like, and this is very inexpensive from the drugstore. Sometimes when I want a bit more coverage, one of my holy grails is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I actually think I'm gonna mix tonight. This is gonna be like most of what I use, and I'm gonna do a couple of dabs of this. Again, if this were everyday makeup, I would just be using the L'Oreal. This is about the amount I would use day to day, and then I'm just gonna do a couple of like dollops of this. One thing about the Double Wear is it dries down really quickly when it goes on your skin, so you want to like be sure to blend it right away. I'm just gonna put it on a couple areas where I like a little extra coverage. These are two completely different shades, but it's gonna work out, it's gonna be fine. So I do this kind of like dabbing and dragging motion. On the side where I have the blemish, I'm gonna do more of like a stipple so that I'm not moving that concealer around that I put on earlier. Always take it down your neck a bit. Once I have my foundation on, I like to just go over it with a damp beauty sponge just to like blend everything out, make sure there's no like harsh lines anywhere. Concealer, I always use two shades. I have a little bit of a darker shade that I use to spot conceal, and then I have a lighter shade that I use under my eyes. Under my eyes, I like a nice, thick, hydrating, full coverage. For that, I use the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is very inexpensive. I think it's under $10, and it like works like a charm. I love it. For the spot concealing, I've always used the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Wear. This is like a perfect shade match, but honestly this luminous silk that they sent me is a perfect shade match, and I'm like enjoying trying something new, so I'm going to use this one to spot conceal. I get some redness on my nose and under here. It looks very light because I have a tan on, but it'll blend together. I use this Sephora 57 Pro Concealer brush for the spot concealing. My tip for doing blemishes is put the concealer right on the blemish, but blend more like around it and leave as much product like directly on it as you can. If you just kind of blend right at it, you're gonna lose a lot of the product that's like giving you the coverage. Just a little tip that I've learned. For my under eyes, I just use a beauty sponge to blend out. Okay, so cream contours next. I have a few like staples that I really love. The Dibs Duo Sticks are probably my favorite. They're two-sided. One side is a cream blush, one side is a cream bronzer. So this is 2.5, this is 2. I like 2.5 for more of a contour and 2 for a bit more like bronze. I completely hit pan on 2.5 though, so I don't even think I have enough to make it work. So my backup, and this one's honestly great too, this is by OG. It's just a contour stick. It's in the shade Copper. So I'm gonna use this for contour, and then I'm gonna warm it up a bit with the Dibs Duo Stick. Again, this is like extra for date night. If it was day to day, I would use probably just this. I wouldn't be like bronzing extra, if you will. The one thing about the OGs, they work better if you like warm it up on the back of your hand a little bit before you go in. Otherwise it can like catch a little. It just needs to be warmed up. I like to place my contour a little higher on the cheek. I feel like it lifts the face more. Sometimes I used to do it a bit lower and I just felt like I was kind of dragging my face down. But under the jaw, high cheekbone, forehead, jaw, and then I always do a little nose contour. This brush is by Dibs. You use one side for creams, one side for powders. I love it. And you really don't want to drag when you're blending out your cream contour or cream bronzer. You want to kind of more like pat it in. This brush just blends things beautifully. I like to take that like jaw contour all the way up. Just really trying to give like that shadow under your jawline. Blend out my nose contour, I just use a concealer brush. This is old, it doesn't even have a label on it. I have no idea where I got it. Just like a smaller tipped brush. Okay, so again, day to day, I would totally stop right here. I am gonna do a little bit of the Dibs just to add a little bit more bronze, warm it up. Okay, last of the cream products is blush. I have a few that I like, but probably my favorite is the Dibs. This one is shade 2 and it is literally gone. There's not enough that I can even muster to make it work. So again, my backup is OG. This is in the color Rose Quartz. It's really pretty. Similar to the cream contour of this, I like to warm this up on the back of my hand before putting it on my face. Also similar to contour, I put my blush pretty high and pretty far back on my cheek because I feel like, again, it just like lifts the face more. I always do a little bit on the tip of my nose. Blush is something I usually end up adding kind of in layers. I start with just a bit, get a feel for like how the color is looking, how it's blending, if it's like enough pigment, and then I can go in and add more if I need it. And you can see I blend it up like almost to my forehead, really just kind of like focusing back, not getting too heavy on like the apples of the cheeks, just gives you more of that lift. The blush on your nose really just gives you like an overall more cohesive look. I feel like it makes sense when everything is like marrying together and you have like a little bit everywhere. Okay, I'm happy with this in terms of cream products. So now I'm gonna start setting everything down. Basically for every step of cream, there is an equal step of powder. So I'll do like a powder to set my concealer, a powder bronzer to set my bronzer, and then a powder blush to set the blush. By far my favorite setting powder is the Kosas Cloud Set. Mine broke, that's why the lid came completely off, but this is so good. I feel like it really gives you like an airbrushed look. I apply it differently depending on like the part of my face. So I use one of these little like puffs for areas that tend to slide around that I really don't want to move. So that would be like the sides of my nose and like my jaw chin area, and then I'll use a little fluffy brush to do under my eyes. Like when I use this under my eyes personally, I have like a lot of creasing, just like the anatomy of my eye shape, and this like really highlights it. When I do a brush, it does what it's supposed to do and it gives you more of like that blur rather than getting like cakey. So I do pretty heavy-handed on the sides of my nose. Again, that really, my makeup tends to like slide around right there. Similarly, this is a good way to kind of like carve back out your contour. Really set the chin area kind of up almost to that like under nose area. I kind of let that just sit and bake while I do my eyes. This is a Jaclyn Hill brush. It's the JH07. It's like completely worn off. And I will just like lightly dust that on my under eye area, also on my lid, a little bit on the forehead, like T-zone area. And then whatever's left on the brush, I just kind of take around the edges of like the blush contour situation. Blend out any areas where I let it set. Now we're gonna set the bronze. Every bit of my bronzer just fell onto my lap. The pan is empty and it's all in my lap. This is the Morphe 530 brush. I'll use this for powder bronzer. And this is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. This is like an OG. I'm pretty sure I've been using this since high school, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I have a couple of powder blushes I really like. This one is by Milani. This is drugstore. It's in the color Berry Amore. I would say this one is a bit more like rougey colored. Then this one is by RMS Beauty in the shade French Rose, and this is definitely a bit more pinky. I think I'm gonna do a mix of both. If this were every day, I would just be using my Milani. I like the RMS to give a little bit more like pinky for a night out. I'm gonna use the powder side of that Dibs Duo brush I was using earlier. I'm gonna start with the Milani. I feel like powder blush is where your face like really starts to come back to life when you've been adding all of your products on top of one another. I'm gonna do just a little bit of that RMS pinkier color on top. Hit the nose a little on the chin and forehead again, just to kind of like make everything cohesive. Okay, so my base is completely done. I am going to go in with the One Size setting spray before I do my eyes, just to set everything I've already done. This is an extra step because it's date night. If this were daytime, I would use this only at the very end. This stuff is so good. 4 p.m. iced coffee is actually necessary if I'm gonna make it to an 8:30 reservation tonight. Okay, so now we're getting into eyes. I like to start with my eyebrow pencil first, just to carve out the brows before I start doing eyeshadow. This is by L'Oreal. It's the Brow Stylist Definer. One side has the pencil, the other side is like a little spoogly. I use the color Light Brunette. I don't do much to my brows at all, except really just like add a little bit of a tail because my brows kind of stop short. I like to have those done before I do eyeshadow because again, I think it just like really frames everything in nicely. Eyeshadow, my new favorite palette is this one by Ilia. It's called Warm Nude. I truly feel like this has every color I need, especially this time of year. The first shade I'm gonna do right here is called Unite. It's like a really like kind of warm coppery color, I would say. And I just put this all over like my brow bone. The next shade I'm going to use is right here. This is called 1979. It's a really pretty like bronzy shimmery color. I used a little bit of a finer tip brush for this one, and I'm going to use this like all over the outer edge and kind of like blend it outward. I honestly really love this palette because I feel like you kind of can't mess it up. The colors like blend really, really well together. And I don't feel like I have to be a perfectionist with the eyeshadow. Like it doesn't take me long to get it how I want it to look. Lastly, I'm going to use this shade right here called Cocoon. This is just like a really light shimmery shade that I'm going to put on my inner corners and like right above my brow. I actually use a little bit of this to highlight the tip of my nose too, in the bridge. For day to day, I use like a little bit of a watered down version of that. I still use all the same colors, just like not as heavy handed. Since it's date night, I am gonna go a little bit under the eye. This is one of my favorite little tricks for like a little bit of like more sultry, sexy look. And I'm just gonna mix these two colors that I used above my eyes. Just using a clean fluffy brush to like make sure there's no harsh lines and just blend. And here's what the eyes look like. I'm an eyeliner girly. I used to always wear black liquid eyeliner, but I've realized that I really like brown liquid liner. This is the Maybelline Master Precise. The color is completely worn off, but it's like a dark brown. And I just do this all the way across my top lid and do a slight little wing out. For lashes, I don't know why I've always been like this. I use 4 mascaras. I think that's so excessive, but I don't know another way to do it. I like them each for a different reason, and I use them in layers strategically. So I use this Honest Extreme Length. I like the primer that comes with this, so I'm gonna use the primer here. Step 2 is Lash Princess. This one gives like a nice solid base and a little bit of volume. Then I use L'Oreal Telescopic. This gives me the length that I want. Then I use L'Oreal Voluminous for like the waterproofing. So this is the waterproof last step that just like seals everything together. And I always curl my lashes. I actually didn't used to curl my lashes, but I feel like it's only been maybe a year or so now. I was getting ready with some girlfriends and they were all curling their lashes and I was like, I don't even own one. Like, what do I do? It makes a big difference. Like, let me say that. If you watch any of my videos, you see that I sit in my sink usually when I do my makeup, especially when I do like my eyes. So this is very difficult for me to do, not sitting in my sink. Something about like sitting on the floor doing my makeup though is very nostalgic. This is like what I used to do in like high school and college, but like getting ready with girlfriends before you go out. And I'm trying to like achieve that feeling right now. Usually during the daytime, I don't wear bottom mascara, but again, night out, I'm gonna do a little bit of bottom mascara. I think it just like brings the eyes together. Okay, so full face is done. Last step is the lips. I had a little bit of the Summer Fridays balm on and I cannot put like lip liner on top of that. It just slides all over the place, so I have to wipe that off. Not find my lip liner and lipstick that I always use. I'll call my husband. I just found them. They were not where they usually are. Okay, so I've done lots of different lip combos over the years. This is a new favorite of mine. This is like a more cool toned nude liner. This is NYX in the color Nude. These are very inexpensive. This is YSL. Color is 16. It has a name. It doesn't have a name on here, but if you go online to Sephora, it has a name, but the shade is 16. These are a little pricier. I'm not gonna lie. They sent me these and I honestly wish they hadn't because I'm like obsessed. I will absolutely be repurchasing. It is very like balm-like and glossy, which I love. Lips bring your whole look together. I used to go in high school, I was like a full glam girly, like every day. Like I'm talking like smoky eye, black eyeliner, just the whole nines, nothing on the lips, just bare pale lips. Like I can't even, I don't know what we were doing back then. I do slightly overline my top lip and I use the liner to kind of like bring in the edges to kind of give a little bit of coverage on the lips. I feel like that already looks so different. I just absolutely love how those two work together. So here's the final look. This is just like a stepped up version from my everyday. I really don't go crazy with makeup anymore. I like to stick to like what really works. I'm gonna link everything on my LTK if you guys want to shop any of the products that I used. Thanks for hanging today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Ask any questions if you have them, and I'll see you next time.